why are you the way that you are?
Why am I the way that I am? I don't know. Look, it's probably some deep-rooted thing in my early childhood. I'll tell you what, I do believe that our experiences as children do help shape us into adults. And then there's also, I'm sure there's like the genetic component of it as well. I've always been the type of person that wanted to have a certain level of freedom and control over my own decision making, over my outcomes, over my successes, over my failures. I was more okay with that. Like, I'm the type of person where if I'm to fail, if everything were to go down to zero, I would much rather have that be because of my decision making and my fault and everything like that than to be as a result of somebody else's decision making. And I think it's one of the reasons why you go on and start a business, because everything is your fault. Like, if your people aren't doing a great job, well, you hired them and you either trained them or didn't train them. If your organization isn't growing, well, who's deciding who to hire and then what you do and what your service offering is, and then how do you provide that service, and then what the operations, all that stuff. It's you. It really is. And that it doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing every single thing, but as leaders, we're paid for our judgment, not our time. So you had to make certain decisions around who you would bring into your organization, what type of work you would do, where you would do that work, and how you would do it.
Yeah, Michael, I always say you're the most unemployable person. You'd be a horrible employee somewhere.
I probably was, just over the years, because to me, things wouldn't move at a very fast pace. And, in any place that I was, and everything, even, I don't know if I'll list them off, but I remember being around really, really, really smart people that were just so content and complacent around just staying exactly where they were. And that seemed miserable to me. Things that, like, projects that could get done in a month would span a year, and everybody would always kick the can. And I think it's probably because at many organizations the incentive structure isn't right. So it just encourages people just to do nothing. I mean, why would you want to move fast if you're just going to get, as soon as you finish one project, you'll get the next project, right? There's no additional reward or value that you'd see from achieving anything. So why not just take it slow? And then, and also I think in those types of situations, like, in general, the structure of an incentive of how an organization functions, especially when I bootstrapped the business, we've never had any investors, no partners, nothing like that. Every single day, money flows out. Every single day, rise and shine. Like, if it's raining outside, if it's sunny, if it's snowing, it doesn't even matter. Every single day, money's flowing out. And I remember even in 2020, I think in March, as COVID was really taking off, I remember even doing the calculation. I was thinking every single day, what was it? It was like $30,000 a day would flow out of this organization to support
Regardless
our team and
like
infrastructure, marketing, like any all that stuff. No matter what, no matter if I woke up early, if I woke up late, if I decided to sleep in, if I decided not to come in that day, or whatever it is, like, that would happen. And when you've got a hole in the bottom of the boat, like that's going to flow out, you've got to, or water's going to flow in. I guess that's the analogy. You've got to figure out how to continuously outpace that and to continuously grow. So it creates an innate sense of urgency. And if you don't have an organization where it's like somebody else's footing the bill, who cares? But when it's your money and when it's when it's constantly flowing out, you're going to develop a great sense of urgency of that, or you'll go out of business.
Yeah. And, even on vacation, you were joking, like, everything you do is problem solving. Like, if someone says, what do you do? How do you answer this?
Professional, elite level problem solver.
When we first met, you said you are a professional janitor and babysitter, but I guess that's evolved now to problem solver.
It really is. In a way, I'll say, like, I enjoy it to an extent, but it's problems every day. I mean, even before coming in this morning, 3 major problems, 3 major problems, like, constantly every day. And it's like you wake up, and I had this thought the other day, and I don't know if this is something that's going to bring people comfort or even more anxiety. It's just that remember the feeling that you have, or that you had when you had your worst problem, like, let's say in the past 2 years. So just remember that feeling, that, like, in your, like, that pit in your stomach. And ask yourself, do you really think that that's the last time you felt that, or that you've experienced that? Absolutely not. Hell no. So you will probably experience that maybe at least 1 time, 2 times, 10 times, maybe 100 more times. And that's where you just say, okay, well, if that's going to happen, just accept that I'm going to have to like have that feeling. Something will not go my way. It's going to be like, huge. It's going to be a major problem, and I'm going to have to figure out and solve it. So now I come in and I'm like, I have the expectation of that, and that's helped me.
Yeah, I always go back to even the first Tesla that we gave away, and it was like all the logistics, the details, the event that we did at Avo, like all of the things of putting that together and how difficult that was. And now I'm like, I could give away a car in my sleep now.
Oh, look, at the Tesla dealership, it's become easy. I mean, I don't have like 12 of these now, 12 Teslas or something like that. And every time I come in, it's funny now because when I come to pick up the cars, they always want to give you the tour of the car and show you how it works and like all this stuff. And I'm like, guys, come on. We know, like, because Tesla's made it easy now. You just buy it online, you send documents online, all the paperwork's online. You just come in and pick it up. But they get excited to like show me how like a Model 3 or a Model S or or whatever it is, it works. And I'm like, it's all good, in and out. And this could be like a 15-minute process now.
Sign and done.
Which it's interesting because when people go to pick up a new car, usually that's a really exciting day. And for me, it's become very transactional. It's like, okay, like we come in, we get this thing. Okay, great. Let's bring it to the office, and then we shoot a video, and it sits ready for whoever the winner will be. But it's amazing to highlight your point. The first time, man, I was so nervous on the drive over to the dealership. I was even thinking like, should I even do this? This is crazy. Do I want to clear out my savings? So that first Tesla, the Model S, was I think it was $77,000, and this was terrifying to do. And I remember driving the dealership. I was so nervous and I didn't want to screw anything up.
Oh, God.
And I remember they were even saying, like, we can film it. We can film it. I'm like, I don't want to film it because I'm nervous. I'm nervous as to what I'll do. And then the drive back. And then, after that, that's where all the problems started. We're like, okay, like we thought this thing would be a huge hit. And then, right out of the gate, in the first 30 days, it wasn't. Like, no one even believed that we were actually even doing this. They're like, I remember we go to shoots and we work with clients and they're like, yeah, I saw that. I thought that was a joke. I didn't think you guys were actually doing that.
Yeah. And going back to like that feeling, so that pit of, here's a problem, here's another problem. And I think it was at one of the GCS2. And I looked at you and I said, because you and I are very different people. Your anxiety goes out in a different way. You bring it on stage. I internalize. And I looked at you and I said, is this fun for you? What was your answer?
Yeah. I mean, look, at that point, so at the summits, at that point, yeah, I love it. But I will say that I have a recurring nightmare at least every other night on the way to these conferences for probably like the 3, 4, 5, 6 months in advance. 6 months straight, at least 3, 4 times a week, I have the same nightmare. And it is that like the summit has showed up. No one has showed up. Like no one actually, like the room is empty. And then when they tell me, hey, Mike, you got to go on stage. And I forgot to prepare. Of like what, like I'm sure.
I feel nervous with you saying.
Yeah. So I'm sure some people listening have had this nightmare where it's like if you forgot, like you're back in school or something, and you forgot that there was a class that you had that you never attended or something, and now it's coming time for like your grades, and if you because you never attended this class, you're gonna fail the class, and you're not gonna be able to go to college or whatever. I still have this nightmare, and then I wake up and I'm like, oh, well, that's over with. But I do feel that constantly, and it's. Yeah, what is Andy Grove, CEO of Intel? He once said he's got a great book by the title like "Only the Paranoid Survive." I constantly feel that, and people be like, "Hey, what's wrong? Why can't you relax?" and all this stuff. I think if it paralyzes you, if it puts you in a position where you're not able to actually do things, then it's probably not healthy. But if it creates this sense of positive urgency, where it creates this dynamic where you want to do a really great job, like when we go into these conferences, I understand that people have expectations. They want to make sure they get a lot of value from this, everything from the content to their experience to I have a tremendous amount of respect for anybody who gets on an airplane, books a hotel room, and decides to spend 2 days with us in Atlanta. So I want to make sure that that's well worth their time. And as we prepare for these things, all the little details, I really, really, really feel like a sense of responsibility to execute well on that. So that's where that anxiety for me comes from, in the sense of, well, people have expectations. I don't want to let them down. I don't want to I don't want to underdeliver. I don't want it to be mediocre. And as those expectations continue to grow year over year over year, I think it becomes much more challenging. But at the same time, like we were saying at this most recent conference this past November, it's this pressure. The pressure is a privilege to have this opportunity to create this type of experience, to do the type of work that we do, and to be able to, yes, it comes with stress, and yes, it comes with problem solving, but not everyone gets to experience that and be able to like be in a position where you have this platform to be able to help and impact people.
Yeah. Yeah. And going back to even having problems and problem solving all the time, how do you make decisions? I mean, we make thousands of decisions a day. How do you make decisions?
All right, going inside the sick and twisted mind. So I do have a framework around how I make decisions. Even in our coaching workshops, we work through this tool that kind of does this in depth and in detail. But I like to really think about any decision. So I start by kind of assessing, do I have enough information? And to me, that usually means I usually have about like 70% of the information, because sometimes the time that it takes to get the other 20%, like that delay and that really slows decision making. Sometimes you lose opportunities that way. Also, it doesn't really give you any more clarity oftentimes. So if you can usually get about 70, 80% of the information you need around something, you're good. I also assess around how am I feeling. Like if I didn't sleep well the night before, like in my Whoop, I show like a low recovery score, and I've got a big decision to make that can impact a lot of people, I will kind of postpone that meeting and say, hey, let me get a good night's rest, and then I can be, in a better headspace the following day. I also consider like the second and third order consequences of a decision. It's not just like, let me make this decision. It's like, yes, no, or whatever it is, green light, red light. I look at it and say, okay, well, what happens after that? Like, let's expand out that decision. Okay, here are all the people that it impacts. Here's kind of the upside of making the right decision. Here's the downside of making the wrong decision. And also in the standpoint of like, after this decision is made, what could be the implications of that, like going forward, one step and then two steps forward. And sometimes around a decision, I think, okay, well, if we were to blow that decision up from the standpoint of like scaling it, like let's say we want to do something and it's something to do in the business. We want to roll out a new service or product offering. And then I think, okay, well, let's scale that to 1,000 clients. Does it still work? Does it still hold up? Does it still make sense? Does it also make sense based on where we believe things are going in terms of kind of the future and like what the needs are of our clients and where we see the industry going? Will it make sense 3 years from now? Will it make sense 5 years from now? And if it's the type of decision that only makes sense right now or only makes sense this year, I'll generally say no. That doesn't make sense to me. But after doing this, I mean, I think all of us and people listening are, you make so many decisions throughout a day. I mean, I think, the numbers like in the hundreds, if not in the thousands. But there's very, very few key decisions that you'll make throughout a year that are transformative. Like these are the ones that it's really, really, really important to get right. They're the kind of decisions of like who you marry, where you live, like those types of decisions. Okay, are you like, what is your, are you going to practice law? Or are you going to be a doctor? Like these are very, these decisions.
Life. Yeah.
What Jeff Bezos calls them like, what is it, like one-way door versus two-way door? Two-way doors, you can go back and kind of like change it. But like one-way door, like really give these decisions some thought, but not too much thought, because here's the thing, like it is important. I'm not wearing it today, but like the shirt, like indecisiveness is weakness. Decision making, to me, I view it, speed is really, really important, because it's less about trying to be perfect. I think people who try to be perfect are like the ultimate procrastinators. I think they use this as a shield. They're saying, oh, it's not perfect yet, so I'm going to kind of hide behind my work, and because it's not ready, it's not ready. I think of the exact opposite. If you can make decisions with speed, you can be wrong a lot and then eventually right. So, and you can get there much faster than someone who's like really thinking about something. I'll give an example of this. So we work with firm owners and they say, I need to hire a practice manager, for example. And then they'll think about it and they're like, oh, the expense of this person, the salary, what am I going to do? Where am I going to find this person? I'm going to put this off. And they'll spend a month agonizing about this decision. And then you have other firms that are like, we need to hire a practice manager, 3 paralegals, 2 attorneys. And they'll hire those people. Yeah. Those people will not work out. They'll hire new ones. Those people will not work out. Then they'll hire new ones, and they'll still get there faster than the person agonizing over the decision for a year or 6 months or whatever. So, and it's the same thing with marketing. You can throw things up and then you can get data back. And then you can say, how are we going to iterate? How are we going to adjust? Let's get feedback from people rather than trying to like put the perfect campaign together only to then finally launch it after a year and then it fail. So to me, the speed is very, very important with decision making.
Yeah. Yeah. And then once you get to the actual decision, there's the whole actual let's get shit done and the execution. And how do you go about executing? And also, you say this constantly, but it's so important about who you surround yourself with. And how do those people play a factor in execution?
Well, so yeah, it's interesting. I thought in one. So as you were asking this question, I thought I was going to go in one direction with this, and then as you finished that, I think I'm deciding to go in a different direction. Right. There's a lot we can say about execution, but what I've found most helpful to me, and it really is about the people you surround yourself with. There are human beings on this earth that are that simply. How do you describe them? They are. They exist in the room, and they breathe oxygen.
The mouth breathers.
They'll eat your food. They'll drink your water. But they don't add any material value. They don't get anything done. They're the ones that have these grandiose ideas, that have this ambition, or this would be nice or whatever, but they don't actually get things done. Execution's kind of boring when you really look at it. And I have found that if you surround yourself with these bullshit artists, you will have a lifetime of frustration because nothing will get off the ground. Alternatively, if you surround yourself with people that like to just get things done, let's move this forward. Let's set up this integration. Let's do this. Like if we're going to be migrating to this new software, let's break it down. Let's make sure who's accountable, by when, what are the deadlines, what does it look like? And then the discussions become, we almost sit down and we're like, yes, we spend some time obviously getting clarity around what we're trying to do, making sure that it all makes sense, and then like who's responsible for what. But it's a lot of conversations around accountability of like, what is the deadline? Who's accountable for it? Do you have the information that you need? Are you clear on what we're trying to do? And those meetings become much more productive. And then we have, review meetings constantly. We're like, what's the status of this project? It's like you have like the ultimate project management going on with everything it is that you're doing. And if you can surround yourself with people like this, so Colby has been, tremendous for this in terms of like, we give assessments to all of our team members. We know the ones with the long blue line, the high follow throughs, they like to get things done and execute. They're great process people. They're great at making sure things run and things recur. And if you're the person, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs are, where you're the visionary, you have a lot of ideas, you like the new things, you like something new all the time. I'm this way. Like I like new things. I don't get very excited about doing the same thing year over year over year. I like something new. But if you don't have the type of people around you that can make those ideas real and actually move them forward and then make sure that they recur so that you can then move on to the next new idea that you have, you're just going to be frustrated because you're going to have 100 open loops, maybe 1,000 open loops. And then you're just going to get defeated and say, well, nothing can get done. Nothing gets off the ground. And it really does start with you. So I've had to realign myself in the sense that I have to be very clear about what it is that I want and like what it is that we're trying to do and how we prioritize those things. And then sometimes you can't do it right away. Sometimes you either don't have the person to be able to like move an idea forward, or sometimes your people at max capacity, you need to expand capacity, you need to hire additional people to be able to launch that next new thing, that you have to put something off. Maybe you put it off a quarter, maybe you put it off 2 quarters, maybe it's something that, last year there was something we really wanted to do that we're not going to be able to do until this year. And that pained me, but look, a building, a virtual conference, an in-person conference, 30 plus workshops, hiring 30, 40 people, all that stuff, a new baby. Yeah. Oh yeah. That, by the way, all that, had to come first. So we had to prioritize. And then, and now this year, that's something that we'll be able to move forward. But I will say, I think with the execution, it really does start with being clear on what it is that you want. And then, of course, surrounding yourself with non-bullshit artists, because there's a lot of people that like to smile and nod and act like they're part of a project, but they don't really add any tangible value whatsoever. And these humans exist, and yet they're allowed to exist. They'll exist companies worldwide, wherever it is, and they'll throw it on their resume. They were part of a, like this multinational enterprise grade level. Like,
hey, we've done it. We've hired them.
They haven't done shit. Get them to do give them an assignment, like a simple assignment, like literally just like example, read this book, summarize this book, send me the action items you like to implement. Okay. And do it by this date. I mean, just simple, just something like that.
We know.
Just see if they can do something simple.
Thing, they'll miss everything else.
So, yeah. And the reason why I'm like, I don't know, I'm like getting kind of like, all passionate about this. It's just because like, as a business owner and as a leader, your whole role to an extent is like to be able to like move resources from a lower level of output to the higher level of output. You're basically saying, here, we're going to create something. We're going to, like, let's say we're going to build our firm. So that means we're going to have, we're going to need to have people in these different roles. We want to be able to help and support more clients. That means we got to expand our capacity. Okay, how do we make sure we maintain the same standard of service, or how do we elevate our customer service? What do our operations look like? What about our tracking our metrics? What is, how's our marketing? How are we getting the phone to ring? All these different things become really like your accountability from the top of being able to find the right players to be able to bring into your organization, make sure that they're engaged, and then make sure that they're committed, and then ensure that things actually get done. And I'll tell you, one of the worst ways, if you want to completely mess your life up and completely destroy your own business, there's many ways to do this, but one of which is to be an absentee like owner in that business. Like, if you don't want to be there, if you're not passionate about what you're trying to do, how do you expect your people to be? I don't understand that. Like, I don't know that anyone is ever going to be more passionate and more engaged than you are as the leader. And if you don't care, and if you don't want to be there, then it's easy to knock these people and say, well, they don't care. Well, start with you. And I've seen some people, like, again, I'm going to be judgmental, but I see these people that seem like they're on year-long, vacations, relaxing, drinking, going nuts, partying. There's nothing wrong with it, to an extent, if that's what you enjoy. Yeah. But then their business is tanking, and their people aren't able to really pay their bills, and it's just a mess. And their clients are frustrated and all these different things, and their house is not in order. So I think that your first responsibility when you create this baby of yours, like your business, your law firm, is to make sure that everyone's taken care of. And then when everyone is taken care of, your team, your clients, everyone like that, that everyone's taken care of, everyone's paid up, everyone's having a great experience. Now you can exhale. Yeah. Now you can take a breath. But until then, if you're going out and like drinking and partying and just going nuts and doing all this other stuff while your people are struggling to pay their bills and your clients are frustrated, like, shame on you. You're in the wrong game.
Yeah.
You're in the wrong game.
No, and you're very passionate about that. And before the girls, and even you now more than me, but like, we were first ones in, last ones out. It was, we were here 6 a.m. sometimes. We were here till weekends, all the time, everything with that. And so obviously it's taken a number of years to get to where we are now. But when you talk about operations and execution, you used to have to do that. You used to have to be that person. So how long did it take you to be able to say, I can let go of some of these things?
It's probably still taking me that time. We're in our 10th year, and I would like to believe I've let go of a lot more than I used to. But I'm a work in progress, right? Yes. And I believe so. Your confidence in your people, in your team, is going to help you a lot with that. So I have a lot of confidence in our people, which means that most things can now be delegated, and most things, the business can run without me. Like that, I'm extremely excited about. That's always been a dream. But just because it can run without you doesn't mean necessarily that that it doesn't need you per se. Right. So what I mean by this is that now, because things can run without you, all right, well, let's figure out how we're going to move it forward. What do the next 5 years look like? What do the next 10 years look like? What is that? And how do we focus on building for the future and not just maintaining in the present? So yes, it's taken years, and we, anytime I've shared this at any presentation or any keynote or anything like that, and I kind of tell the story of our evolution over the years from 2012 and my apartment, with $500 to my name to today, as we've grown a team of almost 100 people and 40 plus million in revenue, all this stuff. I think people don't realize that most of what they see really happened in the last 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
So meaning that our first conference, when you really think about it, it happened at the end of 2018, okay? And even then, the coaching program, the first workshop started in 2019. But what about everything that came before that? Even the first Tesla, that, we didn't give that one away until 2017.
Yeah.
But what about 2012 to 2017? That was the dark ages. Those are the scariest times. We're in 7 days a week. There's no vacations. Thanksgiving, I remember you and I would come into the office, and then we'd leave and then have dinner with our family. That's what it was. Even my birthday's on Christmas. I'd be working on Christmas, and people look at that and say, "Oh man, that sounds horrible." Well, what did you think it took? What seriously? What did you think this took? Pardon me, y'all. But I just It's like this topic of patience. Yes. And I remember because we just had our year-end meeting with the team, and we were kind of talking about like this one like key word. Someone said patience, and I think patience is really important. Patience is important because it does take time. I mean, from 2012 to 2022, that was a 10-year period of just like unrelenting commitment, of so many trade-offs, of so much failure, of so much sacrifice. Like it was hard, like really, so hard. Really, really, really hard. Like the experiences I had that I would not wish upon my worst enemy. Okay. But that being said, where I was impatient was I didn't want it to take 20 years. Okay, I didn't want it to take 30 years. And when you have this sense of urgency, like people say, oh, it grows so quickly. Yeah, you see it now. But in 2012, no one knew us. 2013, no one knew us. 2014, no one knew us. 2015, 2016, you know what I mean? Like that happened. Yeah. Also, how much money was Michael making? 2012, zero. 2013, zero. 2014, zero. 2015, zero. 2016, zero. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think people see that.
You don't see behind the scenes.
Okay? Like, my favorite restaurant at that time, Taco Bell. Okay? And I would think if I had a really, really great month, like a strong month, where like, even when we hired a first employee, if I could just make sure the payroll was hit, if I had a great month on that, like Friday night, I would go to Taco Bell. Okay. And I would just be like, man, you earned it. And that's where I'm saying it's like, I think that's why I have such a respect for any business owner, any leader that's kind of been through that journey, that's been in the arena for any prolonged length of time. I mean, even like, look, I don't care if you're a plumber. If you've been running a plumbing business for 10 plus years, weathering all these storms, dealing with all these problems, I mean, I commend you and I respect that because it really does, it does take a toll, I think, on people of just unrelenting pain and challenge and problem solving, things that you have to overcome from making sure that you can get the phone to ring consistently, to hiring the right people, to then dealing with the people challenges that arise, which I think are always the hardest part of any business, to just figuring out how we're going to grow and scale this thing, to having to develop new skills and capabilities that you didn't previously, have, that you now have to grow and learn. So from that standpoint, I think patience is important, of knowing it's going to take a long time, but I'm committed to doing it the right way and building it the right way, and making sure that we vet people appropriately, that we really do our due diligence properly, that we're like really investing in our infrastructure for the long term. Okay. That we're not trying to there's no get rich quick type stuff. There's no fixes. Snake oil. There's no holy water, none of this stuff. Like, let's take the dirt road. Let's take the stairs to where we're going. Okay. And let's do it that way. But then where I think, you should have a lack of patience is over your daily efforts in terms of like maintaining a positive urgency, because putting off something a day becomes a week, becomes a month, becomes a year. And then you look back over that year. This is something, I think I put it out in a vlog. Every year I always reflect and I always look back and say, like, of all the things that we set out to do this year, like what were the wins? What are the things that went well? What are the things that we got right? And then I look at it and say, well, what are the areas for growth? What were the learning lessons? But then am I satisfied? Am I satisfied with the progress that we made? And I talk to a lot of people that are constantly living in regret. They're like, I wish I started earlier. I wish I would have done this earlier. I wish I would have started sooner. I wish I would have made this investment sooner. I wish I would have started building out my team sooner. I wish I would have invested in this technology sooner. Whatever it is, it's never like, I wish I would have put it off.
No. No. And one thing I always harp on with everything that we do, I think some people may see it, okay, you sacrifice this, that. Everything was a choice. There 100%. Is no, I don't really view it as a sacrifice. I think I tell people, even before we are who we are, we were doing videos for bariatric offices. We were my favorite one. I tell people, I literally went and filmed at a beef jerky conference.
Yeah,
like that
we got free samples too.
Yes, kangaroo jerky, all of this. But you had to take what you could get at that point. And so I really always harp on, even with people, we want volunteers, not hostages. But everything is a choice. Yeah. And so through this journey, because I have also felt this and dealt with it, I guess 7 years of it, but we've lost a lot of friends along the way. We've lost a lot of people along the way, but it's because we grew. And what are your thoughts on shedding those things?
I mean, unless every single person in your life, the way I would look at this is, as you grow and as you evolve, your interests are going to change. Your own level of development is going to change. The types of conversations you're going to have, those things are going to change and evolve as well. And this is like hanging out with your old friends from high school. Okay.
Yeah.
Like back in your old hometown. And I'm sure some people do that. And I don't know if there's necessarily anything wrong with it. But as you learn, as you grow, and as you evolve, you'll find that you have less in common with people who aren't doing those things. And at first, you feel like this responsibility of saying, well, it's not their fault, right? That they didn't, that they're not committed to their careers, they're not committed to their, their families or whatever it is. So like whatever their choices are. I mean, it's not, it really isn't. They're not bad people.
No.
It just means that you may not have as much in common with them. And as a result, like, I gave that example at the conference, or I talked about the wedding that I went to. It was my buddy's wedding back from high school and middle school. And I went to this wedding without you. I mean, you were out of town that week, and they sat me down at this table. I didn't know any of the people at the table, and all these people were doing at the table was complaining. They were complaining about the fact that, oh, I hate my job, or I can never travel, or I hate my kids, or like all these things that it just sounded horrible. It was just never-ending complaining, and I must have been there 10 minutes, and I just walked up and left.
I remember you texted me, I'm done. I was like, what?
I said, I'm done. I came for the ceremony. I gave my boy Brandon a fist bump. Congratulations, Brandon, you did it. And then, I was going to be there later for that dinner, but I don't, I was going to sit there and endure that, just these people complaining they don't have any free will, that they can't make choices and decisions around how they spend their time and what they want to do. And look, there's going to be someone listening and saying, well, Michael, you don't understand. Not everyone can have a choice because they got to pay the bills and like they can't just do whatever the hell they want. I'm like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that you have decisions and choices of like you can decide like how you're going to lead your life. Okay. And you can decide like what role you're going to play, where you're going to work, where you're going to live, who you're going to marry, whether you have kids or not, whatever it is, like you're going to make all these decisions. And then the situation you find yourself in, if it's not what you want, remember we had that one waiter. This was in Barcelona. Remember we went on that trip? This is the best.
So
the man was a sage. He was a sage. He was wise beyond his years. And I think we ordered something.
I didn't like it.
Yeah, you didn't like it. And then he comes up, and his English wasn't great, but I remember he said, because we were like, I'm
trying to be so polite.
Yeah, she's trying to be polite. Like, she's like, I don't really like this. And he said it simply. This is like rules for life. He said, if you don't like, change.
Yeah.
Hello? Okay.
So simple.
Okay. Well said, my man.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I mean, what, to sit there and complain? Who's that for? Right. Like, I don't know what the preference is. To sit there, oh, yes, you're right. It's so horrible and miserable for you. Yes, your kids, they're terrible. Your job is terrible. Your boss is terrible. Do you feel better now? Yeah, I feel better. Okay. But then when you're driving home from that wedding, your life's still what it is. Nothing changed. You maybe had a moment of just feeling better because somebody empathized with you, or sympathized rather, but nothing changed. So you're going to wake up the next day and you're going to be still stuck in that unless you do something about it, unless you actually make a different decision, unless you start saying, hey, I'm going to be accountable for all aspects of my life. If I don't like this situation, well, whose fault is it? It's mine. Okay, well, here's the good news. Well, because it's your fault and it's because of your decision making, you can make different decisions.
Yeah, and that actually makes me think about being committed and going all in. So we'll not name this person, but I remember someone many years ago wanted you to be their mentor because they were thinking about starting a business. And you already know where this is going. And you were like, all right, one breakfast, we'll do this. Yeah. And he wanted to continue to meet, and he had the cush job. He had the company car. He had all this. And he's like, I want to do my own thing. And what did you tell him?
I said, I think that's great, man. I think that sounds amazing. When you decide to go all in on that and like you quit your job and start your business all the way, no problem, man. I'll continue to meet with you. I'm always happy to help you and support you. Just let me know when that happens. And how many years have passed by? Like 5-6 years?
At least.
So, because it does take a lot to take that leap. And you could apply this to anything. I mean, when we talk about this level of commitment, I think it's this implication of like not dipping your toe in the water or not trying to like straddle, what's the example? It's like straddling 2 toilet seats. It's like pick one and shit. Right? Like just go. Like instead of like, this is going to be a crazy podcast. They're going to have to edit all this stuff out. But it's just like, you got to make a choice at some point, you know, left or right, like, so make a decision.
Indecisiveness is weakness.
And when so here's the thing, not making a decision is also making a decision. When you're straddling, you're just prolonging things. That is a decision. It is to stay exactly where you are. Yeah. It is a decision that I think breeds like a lifetime of regret. And by the way, I was not always this way. I was, I believe, molded through like extreme levels of like pain and suffering and struggle of learning these lessons the hard way. Everything that we're talking about, I did wrong. Like everything. Like, because I didn't know. My regret is I didn't have a mentor sooner. I thought I knew it all. I thought I didn't need help. I thought I'd have it all figured out. And I just had failure after failure after failure after failure. The more that I thought I knew, the less, in fact, that I actually knew and understood. And it created this level of like false confidence where it created a very painful life for me because things would not go my way. I wouldn't have money. I wouldn't have good relationships. I wouldn't have like any consistency or predictability. I would just have bad things happen to me. If you ever meet those people where it seems like they're just the most unlucky people ever, like just they get through bad bouts of like bad situations in their life, and you think, wow, this person's so unlucky. That was me at a point, and it was me because I made the bad decisions. I made the wrong decision every single time, and I had to learn the hard way. And it's almost like me trying to bang my head against the wall thinking this is the way through instead of like opening a door right next to me and just walking through. So I say this all with extreme amounts of humility that I do not wish any of this upon anybody. And I think that's one of the reasons why we do the work that we do, even in the coaching, is like, let me share with you all these cautionary tales of all these failures and all these things that we've learned so you don't have to go down that path.
Yeah. And I think one part that hits both of us very hard, because we have gone through a lot of pain. We've gone through a lot of adversity in this. I mean, even from the time we were so young, and like we both have immigrant parents, like I'm an Asian in Alabama. It's not really a common thing. And I think one of our biggest fears for both of us is now we've got these two girls and we don't want them to experience what we've experienced, but we also need them to have that, humility. So how are we going to put that in place with them? When we think about the gratitude that they need to have, and like the adversity is what's made us strong. Adversity is what's made us who we are, but we have to also instill that in them.
So this one chills me to my bones because at the core of it, I do not know. I have asked like people that I think have raised like just amazing kids that are grateful and that have just an amazing mindset. And I've asked them, well, how did you do it? Like, how did you raise these incredible children? They're just set, because I look at it, and the responsibility of a parent is to set somebody up, like set up your child to be able to succeed and stand on their own in the world, right? It's like either you raise your kids or the world will. And so I look at that and I think, well, how do we do that with our girls? For me, at least, it starts with being present. Okay, yep. For sure, 1,000%. And then also in terms of like, how do we conduct ourselves around them? Because I think, children kind of, they look up to adults and they kind of see how we lead ourselves and, and how we behave. And then also a lot of it is around like, are you, just as with team members, what kind of standard are you going to set? Like, what kind of standard will you set in the household? What is okay and what is not okay? I'm telling you this, I'm not interested in being the friend of Mila or Misha. Like, I'm not interested in being their friend.
We pushed Mila last night.
It pains me. Like, it really does. Like, I want to be liked. Like, I want this child to really love me and like me. But I feel a greater sense of responsibility of being their parent and being their coach to set them up so that one day, like when we're gone, and when, that they can be people of value, that they have confidence, that they have just, self-esteem, that they have like capabilities and skills and whatever, they decide to pursue, that they don't need us. And then that pains me to say, because I'm like, I hope this girl always needs us. But that being said, I think that would be a success. So. Yeah.
And like last night, Mila's latest thing, she's 3. I'm like, Mila, can you go do this? Can you do that? I can't. And it's not because she really thinks that she can't. It's like her cute way of saying no. Correct. But your response to her saying I can't.
So that is not in the vocabulary of our household, this word can't. Okay. And she's like, I can't. And like, you have a conversation with a 3-year-old. So, but I stopped everything I was doing. I was like, wait a second, hold up. Because I think that this kind of self-talk that we have as adults, a lot of it is developed and fostered when we're children. So it's this whole idea, Carol Dweck, growth mindset, and your ability to be able to like grow your skills and grow your capabilities versus, thinking I'm just stuck with the way that I was born and the way that I am, right? I'm smart or I'm not smart or whatever it is, versus, growth mindset being that the mind is malleable, that I can't yet. Yeah. Okay, add a yet to the end of that, and I think we can solve a lot of things. We can get you there. We can like work through it. You can figure it out. You're capable. You're strong. Like all these different things, without a doubt. And it's true. This stuff is true. I remember I said this at the year-end meeting. I was like, we had Hal Elrod come and speak, and he talked about, obviously like just setting up yourself for success to have your best year yet, in 2022 and beyond. And I remember I came up after Hal spoke, and I was like, I used to hear stuff like what Hal was saying, everything from like mindset to affirmations to just all these different habits and routines. And I used to think that's cute. Okay, that's the kind of thing that like people who've already figured it out, and then the rich people, that's what they say, right? But this sounds very, cliche to me. And when I was saying those things, like at the time where I thought all that, I was broke. I didn't have any like good relationships. My life was a mess. It was just not very enviable. Let me put it that way. And as I started becoming more open-minded to a different way of thinking and a different way of doing things and in a different way of just approaching situations and even just making decisions, I started to see that, all this stuff they talk about, everything from like meditation to growth mindset to how you think to exercising to like journaling to, all this stuff to gratitude, maybe there's something here. And I started adopting it. And then my life changed. Like it all changed. And I think the reason why it changes is not because of some mystical, magical, the secret type thing. I think it changes because it influences how you think. And if it influences how you think, it influences how you take action and make decisions. And those decisions will dictate your life.
Yeah. And I think all that starts obviously at a really young age. I mean, I was reading recently What Happened to You, and it's Oprah, and I forgot the doctor's name, but it's all talking about from childhood and how people are molded. I mean, like their first 2 years are actually way more impressionable than anything else. And so even challenging how we push each other. But I remember the other day, Mila, she was like, I want to watch this. And I said, okay, go ask your dad. And she asked you and you put it on something else. You didn't say no. She came to me and she said, Daddy said I can't. I said, what did he say exactly? And she said, well, he put it on this. And I said, that's not a no. You get back over there until you get a no. So we're trying to put that in them from a very young age. I mean, that's been your mindset. Go for no. A no is better than an open loop.
Hey, no doesn't mean no. And no doesn't mean, look, and we're talking about this again. Like, I don't want someone to like rake me over the coals later for like this. Don't take this out of context. Okay, relax. But throughout my life, and as we were building the business and everything like that, no was the most common thing that I heard from everybody. The amount of phones, that hung up on me, like the people that told me to F off, that said this would never happen. There was no future. Like the people that never believed, and it was no, no, no. I mean, the business was literally founded on 21 consecutive no's. That being said, like maybe no doesn't mean no. Maybe no means not right now, or maybe no means I don't see the value, or I need more information, or you haven't approached it in a way that I can understand it, or whatever it is. Really understand, because then no becomes maybe, and maybe becomes yes. So it's, you got to be persistent and relentless. I don't know that there's anybody in this world that things are just going to be given to you, short of being born in a trust fund kid. But like, people aren't going to go out of their way to help you and to be able to like make your life easy and what you want it to be. You're going to have to take, the agency over yourself and over your own decisions, and just basically say, I'm going to help make this happen. And I'm going to persist. I remember there was a time I was trying to get a job as a waiter. I grew up waiting tables, and just all these years through high school and college. And I remember I drove around to like 10, 12 different restaurants, and they're like, nope. I couldn't get a job at Geek Squad. They wouldn't hire me. Didn't get a job anywhere. And then I finally got this job at this Mexican restaurant. I finally said that they'd hired me. They're like, go wash some dishes, okay? And then from washing the dishes, I started to move to wait tables. And then maybe this is where my competition started. Then there was a contest, okay? And they said, who can sell the most? There was like this tequila drink, okay? And it was like this drink that came with like 2 shots on the rim. And they're like, whoever can sell the most of these in a month, you're gonna get like $100 gift card to the restaurant that I worked at. Okay. I was committed. I crushed this. And then there was somebody who worked there. He was like a career waiter, right? He worked there for like 10 years or whatever. He did not like me very much. But every time to a table, I like talk about this drink, and I couldn't even drink. I was like 16, 17 years old. So I'd never even tried it. So I like, I was telling him, oh, you got to try this drink. You can pour in the shots. Like what an incredible experience this was. And, and I did it. The first month that contest happened, boom, I won that thing. I got $100 gift card to the restaurant, which I gave to my parents. They were able to, go to the restaurant, eat for free. The second month I won it again. Third month I won it again. So look, maybe that's what it is.
Yes. And one thing too, earlier you were joking semi, but like, yes, you're judging. But you've always been an extremely honest person. So it's funny. We actually have like gone back and looked at text messages from like very, very early on. Your print was very real from the beginning. Why are you so honest, and why is it so important for you to also be challenged? Like, I tell any leader who comes into this company, do not be a yes man to Michael. Like, and I think that's one reason that we have worked so well together is I am not afraid to challenge you. But why is that so important?
Oh man, you open up a can of worms. So I'm honest because I used to not be. And what I found was that I used to think that I had to game my way to success. So like meaning that I'd have to do all sorts of like tricks and like, duct taped kind of like, half-assed, behind the door, like that type of stuff to succeed and win. And as I did that, I saw some success early on. This is even before Chris, but this is, back in like, 2009, 2010, what have you. And I constantly felt fraudulent, like a fraud, like meaning that everything that I had been built on like, a house of cards. It was just like, there was no solid foundation here because everything that I was doing was like, it was a hustle. Right? Like that type of stuff. And I didn't have any confidence, didn't have any self-esteem, like everything. I'd always question myself, but not in a way of like questioning my, my judgment. It was just more so like, what am I really building here? Is what I'm doing actually helping somebody? Am I actually helping somebody? Like, am I providing value into this world, or am I just taking? Okay. Mm-hmm. And when things started to really grow and improve for me, because I went through this whole like, experience of like transformation and just like rock bottom moment, like just basically, all right, it's time to do things differently. I have found that like build it right and be honest. And I actually found that it's incredibly empowering. Like if you shed yourself of all of your secrets, of anything that you're keeping from anybody, if you just do it right, now you got nothing to hide. It's amazing. Like, so, and that took some time, no doubt. But as we were building Crisp, I was like, look, let's do it right. Like every decision was like, let's do this the right way. Let's not do this the kind of half-ass way, because I intend to create a life out of this, right? We're going to impact a lot of people. And then also your reputation is going to be everything. So like you use somebody the wrong way, like you create a bad experience, that's going to spread to 100 people, maybe 1,000 people. Okay. Your reputation is going to be everything. And look, I don't mind the reputation as being like, oh, I don't like Michael because he's like innovative and he's doing all this stuff and like he's not a lawyer and he's working all these like whatever. Like yeah. I don't mind that because it's not coming from our clients. It's coming from the people that sit in our events that are trying to like, create similar offerings to us, right? They come to our events and then they say how much they hate us. Well, amazing, right?
Right. But you sat here.
So and I welcome them. I don't even think that they're bad people. I think they're good people. They're people just trying to do what they can and trying to grow the same way I was trying to build our company. That being said, I find that like if you don't have some sort of ulterior motive, if you can be honest and very, very transparent and upfront, that's where the integrity comes from. So I can go to bed at night and I can close my eyes at night and know that like what we've built is real. And then also that I'm doing this the right way. I can do it knowing that it's not, I'm not some fraud, I'm not some whatever, this kind of person, that everything is built with a solid foundation, that we have good people, we deeply care about our clients, that we care about the work that we're doing, we want to help people, we want to support people, all this stuff. And man, you start sleeping better that way. You start sleeping peacefully because you did it the right way. You did it in a way where there's a value exchange where somebody else gains, right? Yeah. Like you help and like we succeed because we help others succeed. Like we don't succeed until they win, right? Like meaning that if we're not putting out value into like the work that we do with our clients, if we're not helping them grow, it's going to be hard to build a long-term business, right? Like, I mean, when you think about it, right? The same way, like if you don't provide great service and great customer service, for example, like that's where it's going to spread, right? People have a lot of options. They can do, they can work with a lot of different organizations in business. They can work with a lot of different law firms. I mean, especially if you're a contingency-based firm, like people work with anybody. Yeah. Why would they work with you? So I think first and foremost, you have to have this utmost respect and level of gratitude for the clients who help you keep the lights on and allow you to live the life that you live and allow you to be able to do the things that you do and create value in this world, because without them, you don't have anything. So when you say, well, why are you so honest, or whatever it is, I'd rather be honest and upfront and transparent and just like do it that way and know that like at the end of the day, like we can look our girls in the eyes and say like, we are doing this the right way. There's no secrets. There's no catacombs. You can go down by the basement of the office and you're like, oh man, where are these skulls, right? Like there's none of that. And it's not to say that it hasn't been difficult. It hasn't been challenging. And look, I'm not perfect. We're not perfect.
No.
We make mistakes all the time. I make mistakes all the time. But the intent is to do it right. And I'd rather be upfront with somebody. And we've had times over the years where we see if those values do not align, and there's people in the organization that like don't see the world that way, or they're trying to do it in kind of the trick way. That's not the long term. And as a result, like we've had to part ways. So like I think that, you know, if you're trying to scale Everest, right? You're trying to like create something great, then do it in a way where years from now, you built it with such a strong foundation that no one can take that away from you.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's so true. And that's something that I've actually always admired is your level of honesty with that. And so when we go back to kind of, you know, the climb and where we were, you know, came from to where we are and how we continue to grow, who do you look up to?
All right. Everyone's going to roll their eyes now. Okay. Everyone's listening to roll their eyes. Because I would say, look, one person immediately comes to mind is you. I look up to you. Without a doubt, if you take you, Jessica, out of this equation, this crisp equation, and go back to Michael, you know, 2012, 2013, 2014, we are not, you know, a quarter of the organization that we are today. No question, without a doubt. Because I did not have the operational know-how. I did not know what you knew. I did not have the skill set and capabilities that you have. I was good at, you know, certain things, let's say sales, marketing, the visionary stuff, but I wouldn't be able to ever scale it, which I think is the real, the magic of it all. It's not like the great ideas, the so-called, in quotes, like viral campaigns. All that stuff is cute.
Tell everyone the biggest thing that you could do to torture anyone is to, you know, triple your business in 2 days.
Yeah.
It is the most painful operational thing.
The magic is the ability to scale. It is the ability to be able to logistically scale, of making sure that you can go from supporting one person to supporting thousands of people, and to be able to do it every single day in markets all across the US, and to be able to deliver a high standard of consistent service every single time. It's easy to do something once or maybe twice, but do it 1,000 times a month, every month, okay? And that, I think, is the magic just that you brought. So I look up to you because you've helped me in so many ways. My love language is acts of service, right? So like you've helped me.
Served.
And then also at the same time, it's like, you know, you're doing double duty in the sense that like your mom at home, and you do way more than me, right? I'll say, okay, I'm gonna be present or whatever it is, but like you are doing 10 times more than me at home as well. And I'm trying to be useful. I'm like, how can I help? Like, what can I do? Okay, you know, I'm doing the bath time, I'm reading or whatever it is, but like you still do 10 times more than me. Even the things you have to think about, like, okay, what kind of preschool we're going to enroll meal into? Are we going to do? We got to clean these bottles. We got to sanitize these things. Like all these things that I don't even think about. So I look up to you to be able to do that and be in the business, working the way you do and operating at the standard that you do. And then the other people I look up to, I mean, this might sound kind of like, you know, trite, but it's just, I look up to so many of our clients who I've like made this commitment over so many years of like what they're going to do in their market and how the people they're going to serve and like their team members they're going to support, and to be able to do that and to still be coming in day after day after day after day because they're so passionate about the people that they help and the work that they do, and they want to be able to make a greater impact. And then on top of that, to be able to continue to take risks that they do 10 years, 15, 20 years later, to be able to continue to double down and say, we're going to continue to push the chips in because we want to help more people. We want to grow. We want to make a greater impact in our communities. We're going to humble ourselves. We're going to learn. Like there's a lot of things that we don't know. They're constantly adapting to changes and trends. And I really respect that. And that's why, like, I mean, it's like, to me, it's humbling. And I feel like this responsibility constantly to not let those people down. Because, you know, they're making a lot of trade-offs and choices. And I said it earlier, it's like the Teddy Roosevelt, you know, the whole thing around like man in the arena. They're there day after day, year after year, trying to figure things out, trying to make things better, trying to improve, and they've dedicated their lives to it. So I, you know, in a way that I know that most people will never be grateful to them for that. Like many people will never say thank you. Many people will never understand the sacrifice they had to make. That, you know, that appreciation may never come, and yet they do it anyway. And the amount of good that they do as a result.
Yeah, I think leadership, entrepreneurship, either one, most selfless thing you could do. If
you do it the right way, yes. You know, 100%. And that was another evolution that I went through. You know, when I started, broke and poor, selfish. I worried about myself. I worried about taking care of myself. I worried about making sure that like I got mine or whatever that meant. Okay. And that way of thinking didn't take me very far. It wasn't until I started to think about the fact that when you hire people, you're not like, this person works for me. Like this person got to do X, Y, and Z. Like you're some boss or something, right? You know what I mean? It's like some made up title. Like you're no one. Okay. Like you just, if anything, like, you can't do what you're trying to do without these people.
Correct.
So like, how about like a level of like, just respect and understanding. And that's where I look at, okay, anybody that you bring onto your organization, could you do it without like people in those roles, in those capabilities? Maybe not those specific people, maybe different people, but you can't accomplish anything I think of magnitude or greatness if you can't align great people around you that buy into what you're doing. And in order for them to buy into what you're doing, how's it going to benefit them? How's it going to help them achieve their goals? How's it going to help them, grow personally, grow professionally, achieve their financial goals, all those different things? Because they're not just here altruistically, just, on their own. There's an exchange. It's like we talk about like work-life balance. Maybe this is what it is. It's like also, it's like, what's that value exchange between the organization and the person? They're bringing this value into the organization. Like, how are you supporting them and how are you serving them? And for me, it's important and it's constantly evolving because there's so many areas that I looked at, how can I improve? But I want to make sure that it's always worth it. I want to make sure it's always, always worth it because I know that we cannot get to where we're going without a great team and great people. So, and when you look at it that way, your selfishness, good luck doing that selfish.
Yeah.
Okay. They'll see right through your ass. Okay. And then they'll come work at Crisp. But if you're selfless, okay. If you're selfish, you're like, okay, how do I help all these people succeed? I said this earlier. It's like, how do you make sure that your team is supported because they're going to be supporting your clients? And how do you make sure your clients are, that you're being able to serve them in a way that helps them achieve the things that they're trying to achieve in their goals? Okay. And then when everybody's taken care of, when everyone's paid up, and this is even true this past year, I come in on Christmas Eve, I'm closing everything out. We're going through all the financials. We're breaking down everything. Like we're looking at all the metrics, making sure everything's good. I'm in the office by myself. Okay. And people having, they're having Christmas Eve with their families and all this other stuff. And I'm sure it's a wonderful thing. And I feel like blessed and privileged to be able to create that for other people. They could spend their time that way because they've worked their tails off this past year. But after everything is closed out, after everyone's taken care of, after everyone's been paid, after everything is good, only then do we hop on that plane and go to Mexico.
Yes. Oh, yes. It's always after every last box is done. Everyone's like, what are you doing on Christmas Eve? All the things that require the business to keep going are the things we're doing on Christmas Eve. So
yeah, it's like, leaders eating last?
Yes.
100%
yes.
Truth. 100% truth. And they'll know it too. Your team members will know it. They will know. If all you care about is yourself. And I remember this years ago. I won't name the law firm, but I remember pulling up to this law firm's office and I could see that there was this Lamborghini in the parking lot. And and there's every other car was like a Honda or a Toyota, nothing against Honda, Toyotas, whatever it is. And I walk into the office and there's stains on the floor and all sorts of old equipment and old computers.
Files everywhere.
And I walk in to meet with the lawyer and his office is brand new furniture, everything state of the art, everything.
Office.
And I'm we never ended up working together because I was there's something wrong here. Okay. You're living the high life over here and your people can't even pay their bills and and what's going on? They got all busted equipment and all this other shit and the chairs are falling apart and your office is a mess. It's you did it backwards.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I'm not saying everyone's got to be, driving around a Bentley in your office, but I am saying that make sure that people can support themselves and their families and make sure that they're good before you buy some cool car or something like that. I think, or better yet, wait on the cool car and invest it back into your business and set up something for the long term. You always look at this and they're oh, Mike gives away the Teslas and gave away the Rolls Royce and all this other stuff.
It's not always this way.
We gave them away. I think people miss that part.
Yeah.
Okay. It went to a client, a client who achieved something because we were able to create a level of excitement and commitment around transformation. They grew personally, they grew professionally, it impacted a lot of people, and then we gave it away, So, and by the way, if you've done all that and you've taken care of everybody and you've been doing this for years and you've impacted a lot of people, you can go to the Ferrari dealership and get yourself a Ferrari. There's nothing wrong with that. You've worked really, really hard. I support that. I'm not going to demonize you. You kidding me? You can take a nice vacation. You can go buy a big screen TV. You can go do whatever. Do whatever you want. It's your business. All I'm saying is that it works better for the long term if you do all those things once everyone else is taken care of first.
Yes. So this is always the hard one because I feel like we're always our own like toughest, hardest critic. Are you proud of yourself?
Well, after I cried on stage at the summit last November, today I am, and as I reflect back over the years, I am, but for the reasons that we've been talking about, in the sense that I'm proud of myself. And you could say, oh, from going from an immigrant whose family came here, started from nothing, to be able to like create a great organization. It was 100 people and be able to impact thousands of our clients. Like, I think that's one part. But the part that I'm more proud of is that, like, look at how we've been able to really help and impact people. The amount of people in our organization that bought homes last year, that paid off loans, that clients that were able to support their team at a higher level, that were able to finally take vacations, that were able to have their best years yet. Like, to me, I'm more proud of that than I am about anything that I've personally achieved in my own life. Like, when I look at it from the standpoint of, wow, okay, you go from like broke kid in his apartment in 2012, and $500 to his name trying to start a video company. Everyone says it's a terrible idea, to today, and to have like you in my life and have this great team in our lives and this organization and our girls, and be spending time with our family, all these things. I'm like, yeah, I'm proud of it. I get you. And I mean, I'm kind of glazing through this stuff because I don't want to get all choked up about it, but it wasn't supposed to go this way for me. Like, if I did not like course correct a lot of different things, this would not have happened. And I know so many people that also have the immigrant story. People that, like, my parents knew growing up, and their children and so on, they didn't have these outcomes, and they also had loving parents, and they also had an incredible amount of opportunity. But they didn't make those sacrifices. They didn't make those choices because they didn't think for the long term. And I look at it from the standpoint that I'm nothing special. And if anything, I'm lucky. Like, I'm actually very, very lucky that I had certain people come into my life at certain times. And I'm also lucky that I finally decided to like humble myself and take advice and feedback from other people and learn to do better and improve, and not believe that I had all the answers. Because if I continue to have that mindset of just digging my heels in the sand of saying that I know best or whatever it is, I'd be broke as hell, and I'd be back in that apartment with nobody in my life, and all I'd be complaining about all the people who did me dirty and all the opportunity. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it'd be everybody else's fault then.
Yeah. So because this is all about, a constant work in progress, and I think we are continually evolving and evolving, what's next for Michael? What's the next version of Michael?
Okay. Well, I don't look. I wonder about that sometimes. A calmer Michael. I don't know. I look at it from the standpoint of, I have this responsibility to constantly grow, because it's always about, at least to me, of like, well, what's next? Where are things going? And how can we make sure that the people that we support are like set up for that? So like, the future is happening regardless. Like, that's happening, whether whether you like it, don't like it. But will you, continue to lead in a way that sets up your organization for success, and then making sure that our clients are also set up for success? There's a lot of changes happening in the legal industry. There's a lot of things. I believe the next 3 to 5 years are going to be absolutely transformational, and to many firms will be the most like difficult times they will ever have experienced yet in their career. But at the same time, for many other firms who approach this in the right way and capitalize on this opportunity, this is going to be like transformational in a good way for them, in a positive way. That's going to be able to help them grow their organizations if they adjust properly. But it's one thing's for certain, is you can't ignore it. So I'm spending a lot of time really educating myself on this stuff, making sure that like what we're talking about, the things that we're teaching at our workshops, the things we're working with our clients, is setting them up for the future. Because it's setting up that firm for the future is what also makes sure that their team is taken care of, their team members' families, their clients, and so on, and everyone in their community. I mean, there's a lot that's involved there. And I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people in our organizations, a lot of people at other organizations that think about this stuff. But when you look at like what's next for Michael and how does Michael evolve, I am a constant work in progress. There was Michael without kids, and there was single Michael. Then there was Michael, married. Okay. And then you have Michael with 2 girls. And what does that what does that look like? And to me, it's constantly learning and growing. I said this at our year-end meeting, and I don't know, I'm sharing all this, private, confidential stuff, but hey, it's okay. There are no secrets. I shared at the year-end meeting with the team is that I look at this as really day one. And I remember Jeff Bezos, he had like a shareholder letter he put out years and years ago where he told like the team at Amazon and internally, and he was like telling them all, like, this is day one, for the internet. And this is day one for Amazon, and everything that we've built up until this point, this platform, it's like, what are we going to do with it, right? Because at the time they were just selling books. And it's the same thing that I share with the team. It's like, this has taken us 10 years nearly to build this platform that we've now created, of everything from the book to the podcast to the conferences to the workshops to so many of the clients that work with the team. Like, and now what do you do with this platform? Like, how do you like leverage it for good? How do you move it forward? Because I find that a lot of people, they hit certain milestones, they hit certain points in their organizations, and they start to get comfortable, and they start to think, oh, this is going to be this way forever. I don't think so. I think that, there was a time where, there was other organizations that may have felt that was going to be that way forever, while we were building 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, right? Like, don't know about you, don't care about you. We don't know this Michael, we don't know this Chris, but now, now things are starting to evolve and change. And I also have the humility to believe that we're not the only ones who ever in the history of the universe were to ever do that in an industry. So I would get from the standpoint of like, how do we always keep it moving forward? How do we remain humble? How do we make sure that there's not these blind spots? How do we continue to move like just everything in the organization forward? And to me, that always starts with, how do we support our clients at a higher level? How do we make sure that we're continuing to add more and more and more value every single year? And I'm excited about that because it creates many more interesting problems to solve. Challenges that if you solve them, man, it's going to help a lot of people. We didn't just invest $20 million in a building last year just for this thing to be, for a one-year project. Yeah. This is not this wasn't a hobby to me. So when we look at this, it's like, what does the future look like? And I'm very, very excited because I look at this and I say, all right, everything that came before, that was experience, that was building this platform. Now you got this platform. Okay, now we're going to do some damage in a good way, right? Now we're going to make some lawyers really, really dangerous in their markets. Now they're going to be like this. People are going to like look at them like, oh gosh, oh brother, I got to contend with who? Like, if you work with Crisp, you will be like the most competitive firm in your market, and you're going to make the greatest impact in your community, and we'll even make sure of it. And I'll tell you what, like, that is going to be terrifying, absolutely terrifying to any competitor.
Yeah, I love that. All right. I think people are probably sick of us by now.
Yeah,
So I will ask you, Michael Mogill, what does being a game changer mean to you?
Wow. I've asked this question many times. I've never been asked this question myself. Okay. What's interesting is I haven't even thought about the answer. So what I'm about to say, I'm just literally saying for the very first time. So to me, a game changer is someone who is true to their values and operates in a manner of integrity and is just so committed to what it is that they're doing that they don't let anything stand in their way.